Welcome to AFL Uncensored. I'm your host, Tej Johannesen, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Omari Fraser. Omari, yesterday I headed out to Airdrie and watched the Irish scrimmage. They had a green versus white game, and I got to say, that team was impressive. They looked good. They had a big roster, numbers-wise. They had a big roster, size-wise. There's a lot of really good athletes. They got some really good athletic DBs. They were locking down pretty good. They looked in sync. The defense looked really good to start. Obviously, really early, where you expect the defense to kind of be outperforming the offense, and it was like that for a little bit. But the offense kind of picked it up, and QB1 started making some plays, and Vardo made a couple good catches, and running backs had some good runs, and overall they looked. I know you weren't there, Amari, but for me, my perspective, they looked really good, and especially for first kind of quote unquote game of the season. So I expect they'll be ready to go next week. We get in week 1. I think it's going to be a really good game. There were some interesting post game interviews that Kurt Howland posted up on the Alberta Football League News Facebook page. So I know you've seen some clips and stuff like that, Amari. You got any thoughts on that game and on the Irish?
Yeah, it's I was able to check it out. Just I ended up being at another not another engagement, but I'm sure they have some good stuff there, and I'm not surprised to hear that athletes all over and numbers all over, and you always hear in the beginning, like, anytime teams do like that in-scrimmage stuff, defense always gels together quick because their running joke is defense runs 3, 4, 5 plays, X amount of blitzes. Like everyone has their own thing from different times, but at offense, it typically takes a bit of time to gel together like live bullets. And this is now like I want to piggyback this into another question. Like, do you think there should be like more forms of preseason games between AFL teams? Because I think for the Irish, they're able to have their own game, but it's one thing. First half of football might be the best football for each team in different ways, not just because it's like, this is live bullets now, not just my team I've been going against the last 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think we did one. Not we. I wasn't with the Bucks last year, but I know the Bucks and the Irish did do an exhibition game last year. It was in early May. It was like May 7th, which is super early. But I know that was kind of cool for everyone. I actually went to that game and watched it. And it was early May, and I think that this year that maybe they talked about it, but they didn't actually do it. And I think that it's a really good thing to do preseason games. We've done it in the past with the Bucks. Probably like 4 seasons earlier in my career. I know 2013, 2014, some of that we did some. I think that teams should do it. I think, Calgary and Airdrie could run one. I think the Bucks and Edmonton could run one. Maybe it'd be tough, obviously, traveling wise for the teams further away. But the teams that could do it, I think it's beneficial for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
And to piggyback off that, like I know some teams. I remember my first year junior, we did like a preseason jamboree. Where I know that in like youth football, they do is jamborees where it's like 40 plays, go from the 40 in. And it's a nice way to like get a bunch of different opponents on the same day. Do you think that kind of format would work here in AFL where maybe we say, teams meeting Red Deer, maybe that's more central Edmonton, and then do like preseason style games where you get, on the 40-yard line, 10 plays going and switch, and everything. It gets a little taste. Knock off that rust.
I remember doing those spring camp scrimmages and 40 plays, and I remember at the time I didn't really love them because it wasn't a real football game, and I just remember wanting to like play real football. So I don't know. I don't know if that would work in the AFL. It could. I don't know. Like for me, I don't know if personally I'd be super interested in it, but it is definitely something you could do. Like you could meet up teams in Red Deer, like Calgary. You could have 4 teams, right? Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, and Airdrie, and do something like that. But I don't know. I didn't love it in high school, so I don't know if I'd love it now. Just because I would be like, I want to play a real game. It's like going to the driving range in golf. It's like kind of wet your whistle a little bit, but like at the same time, you kind of want to play the whole course,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention before we really dive into the episode here is our official podcast sponsor. Our first one one. We're grain carriers. Want to appreciate our company here sponsoring us, allowing us here to still run a podcast and provide this to be sponsored and be a first adopter of our podcast here and allowing them to enjoy this podcast and allow it to grow. And we have much appreciation here for work grain carriers here and Danny Warwick and his company here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Warwick Grain Carriers, for allowing us to continue on this podcast. In today's episode, we are doing our final team preview. We obviously didn't do Fort Mac. They ended up folding. Edmonton decided not to come on the podcast. So we're doing our final podcast today, and we are doing our newest team in the league, the Peace Country Cowboys. I think Omari called them the Peace River Cowboys last week on the podcast. I know they've been called the Peace County Cowboys on the podcast, but they are officially the Peace Country Cowboys. And we have Edgehill Garrick and Chad Weeb with us today, two members. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being on the podcast. Yeah. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for your team. You guys have been posting a lot of stuff. So, Chad, let's start with you, man. Talk to us a little bit about your AFL history and then what led you to the Peace Country Cowboys.
Yeah, so I guess when I personally, when I went for the AFL for the Peace Country Cowboys coming back, I had moved away for junior. I played a few years of drillers, so when I came back, I really tried to keep the drillers thing around, and there was just some reasons that were too large to overcome. So we let that sit for a while. We knew there was a lot of talent and a lot of things we wanted to do here, and it was really sad seeing young guys that could go to junior but just want to work and continue their football passion. So we thought that was important. So pre-COVID, a few of us had a meeting and we put the opening steps together, and that was really fruitful, honestly. Pre-COVID, I think we would have had a really strong team that year. There was a lot of fire, a lot of excitement. And obviously COVID happened, which no one could have predicted, which was obviously a setback. And if, probably about 15, 20 guys that were committed, life changed, moved, so on and so forth. So honestly, after COVID, it was almost like starting from scratch. So we've done good. I really appreciate a lot of the people. We have a lot of non-player help, which is something the drillers never had. So I'm really appreciative of that, and we're trying to grow more in the community, but having more outside help. You can't always just have players or family members of players, doing the work, because when they eventually inevitably, get older or just, without a lack of a better word, lose interest, you need people that are invested that aren't on the field. So I think we've done a good job with that, and we're putting the right pieces in place. And between recruiting and the young guys coming up, I think we've got a good foundation, is a good way to put it.
And what's your role? Like, are you a board member with Grand Prairie? What are you doing with the team besides being a player?
I wear a lot of hats, to be honest, but my official title is vice president.
Okay, cool. And Chad and I are former teammates. You did come and play for the Buccaneers in 2021 when we won a championship, which was great. Mm-hmm. And I know you made it when you could, coming from Grand Prairie. And you've been in the league for how long? Were you always with the Drillers and then 1 year with Red Deer and now the Cowboys, or was there anywhere else?
Yeah. So I guess high school, Grand Prairie, played for the St. Joe Celtics. Honestly, I owe a lot to the NFL. I've heard a lot of different. I think I've heard most of the podcasts here. Mine's a little bit different. I'm not the biggest guy, so when I loved football, high school, that gave me an identity, it gave me a community, and I loved it. But in high school,
the powerhouse St. Joseph Celtics.
Well, they weren't. I was the year before the powerhouse. That was in the foundation.
Okay.
So really, my graduating year was the year before the dynasty. But I played with a lot of the guys that began it. But yeah, great program, great coaches. And so I thought I was done. Super depressed. Not depressed, but honestly lacking identity. And then some drill guys. And Trevor was the coach of the St. Joe Celtics. He was so recently, actually. And so he was also the coach. He encouraged me to come try it out. And that really rekindled and it kept me on the football journey. And I owe a lot to it. That's where my passion lies, with having to give other kids an opportunity, because I went from that, played a year of driller, and then I became a seasonal driller, guys, I think for about 3 years, because I joined the Chilliwack Huskers. But that would have never happened had I never played in the AFL, because my first time ever playing football was high school. I was okay. I started in grade 12. But via my like my size, I was like, I'm not big enough to go to the next level. But then I played in the AFL, and I'm like, you know what? It gave me that new confidence that I could do it. And then I went and tried out the Huskers camp and was the starter by the end of my junior career.
Oh, that's awesome. I went out to Huskers camp back in the day as well. I grew up out in that area, Lower Mainland. So yeah, I actually went out for a team that was called the Abbotsford Air Force back in the day, but they folded. And then I ended up at Chilliwack at a spring camp under then Coach Howie Zarin back in the day.
Yeah, so that was good.
And they got a they're on the up and right coming there.
Yeah, no, they are. I've been watching their stuff online here. But yeah, came back home. Drillers were no more. I don't know if you know it, I spent the first year with Airdrie because that was back before Airdrie was what they are now, and I could travel and play with them. And then like you mentioned, the championship year for you guys. I don't know specifically who reached out, but someone said you guys needed DB help and convinced me to come out there. And then from there, I always knew that we were going to come back out in Grand Prairie, so I knew it was a short-term visit. So I've played for a few teams in the league, met a lot of good people, and yeah, excited for what we can do this year.
Yeah, no, and that's great, and that's kind of the cool thing about playing for a few different teams and meeting all the people and seeing people in a different aspect than just playing against them. Ed Chill, go ahead, your AFL history and kind of what brought you to the Peace Country Cowboys, and I think you were part of the group that started them. So talk to us about that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I'm one of the old boys. I actually started my AFL career back in 2010 when I first moved out here from Ontario. And I first moved out, I was working, looking to play football still because I was young. I wasn't ready to be done, and ended up in Grand Prairie with work and stumbled upon the Drillers, actually. I kind of had to go looking. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of advertising, I guess, for men's league or for the Drillers specifically. So I went out looking and joined with them in 2010, but unfortunately it was too late. I hadn't played enough games, so I couldn't play playoffs. So my true career started in 2011, and we had some really good years back then. We went to a final, went to a couple semifinals, things like that. Grand Prairie football was really good back then, if any of you guys remember that. And it really just kept my spark alive for football, and I've always loved it. This is my 17th season, but we had a few years there where, like Chad said, Drillers, we folded that up pretty quick. There were some things we couldn't get past, and then I actually went and played for the Wolfpack for a season. So I got to play with those guys, a good group of dudes there, and really welcoming. I wasn't sure what I was going to get when I walked in there, and I was like, hey, I'll play for you guys. I've got business in Calgary, so it made it super easy for traveling, things like that. I was in Calgary all the time anyway, and so made it super, super easy. And then again, like Chad, I always knew that we were going to have football back in Grand Prairie. It was just a matter of when. And so off season, we started chatting. Chad and I got together with another group and ended up finding our president, Dusty, and decided to pull the trigger on a team. We're really excited, and it's interesting because I've seen a lot of teams in all over Alberta, but Grand Prairie specifically, and it makes me super proud that the Cowboys could field a team that's strong. We've done spent a lot of time recruiting, and I'm just proud to be part of the organization and that we can help men's league in Alberta, because for a bit there it was interesting. We'll use that terminology, interesting. But yeah, that's really where I'm at, man. Started back then, and here we are. I'm getting old. I'm 34 years old now, and my plan is to play till I'm 40, because that's my jersey number. So got a few years left, but we'll see. Body's still good.
Yeah, I do remember those Grand Prairie teams. That my 2010 was also my rookie year.
Awesome.
So we came in together, and I remember my very first game of and you obviously I must have not been there because you said you were late. But the first game of that 2010 season of my rookie year was against Grand Prairie, and you guys came up to Red Deer, old Great Chief Park with the old grass field back then. Now we've got beautiful turf,
Love
but it was
that
actually
place,
back in the day. Great Chief Park was an amazing grass field.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was wicked. That old grass Great Chief was something else. And you guys came down with 18 players and whooped our ass. Like that team, Nathan Aldred at quarterback, Simon Fow as a receiver.
Yeah.
There were some, I mean, there were some other guys too, but like that Grand Prairie team was legit. And it's kind of a fluke that none of those teams from 2010 to like 2013 ever won a title. Like there were definitely, it was just like you kind of ran into, I think you ran into a Wolfpack team one year that you'd already beaten in the regular season, and then they kind of got you in the final.
Yep.
There was that Trevor Pritchard was your coach, was a great coach back then. And there was that one year, I think it was 2011 or something, you guys were making t-shirts to fundraise for nationals, and then you ended up losing, which was unfortunate. But man, you guys had old Sanchez there playing DB back in the day. I don't know if you remember him, but man, you guys had some ballers back in those days. So I'm really glad to see Grand Prairie back in the fold. And I know for a fact, coaching high school football, that Grand Prairie is a high school football powerhouse. So the football community there is huge, and I'm sure you guys are seeing that as you're moving along.
Yeah, it's actually surprising, the amount of talent that's up here. We've got farm kids, we've got guys who are working in the oil field, we've got every walk of life basically up here, because there's just so much up here that I think is kind of underappreciated. And the football programs speak for themselves. We've got like 5 schools up here just within the Grand Prairie area. And, every year there's 5 to 7 players that could easily go junior. And which is really sick. So we've got a huge group that we can draw from. It's just a matter of us getting in front of them and getting them to come out.
Yeah, and you know what? I coach basketball as well, and the Grand Prairie High School down there has a great basketball team every year as well. They have a coach there that's been around forever, but they're just great, really good little athletic program out in Grand Prairie. And I'm really looking forward to July 8th when we come up there. The Grand Prairie is always the best road trip of the year for us, and I like to hit up the poker room you got there because it's usually some easy money for me up there in Grand Prairie, and people willing to dump it pretty easily. So I can't wait for that, and I can't wait to play with you guys because and I'm also excited for. And you guys can kind of talk about this too, and because I want you guys to also sell your team a little bit. But you now have a great facility out there, that new turf field, and I actually haven't played on it. Unfortunately, I just haven't gone up there since you guys have had it. I think the one year we went up, for some reason, it was being used, and we had to go back to the old grass field, which might have been one of the worst fields I've ever played on in my life. By the way, that old grass
Legion
field with the track around it, yeah, Legion Field. Oh my god! Well, you know what? That and Lloydminster's field kind of gave each other runs for their money for the worst field. So
I think Lloyd's was worse.
Yeah, Lloyd. At least you guys cut your grass. Like Lloyd would not cut their grass, which was annoying. But yeah, talk about your new facility and what that's kind of brought to your team and your community there.
For sure. Honestly, it's been huge. So the city has really grabbed the bull by the horns when it comes to the athletic programs, like you kind of touched on. They've really put an emphasis on athletics, and that field was a big draw. We could have summer games there. We could have, different sporting events. Obviously, the Cowboys get to take advantage of it as well. But all of the bantam programs, Pee Wee, everything, and it's a state-of-the-art facility. We got great dressing rooms. The turf is amazing. It's always really, really good. It was very expensive for the city and for the fundraisers, but it's really allowed us to get crowds out and people in the stands. And when we were playing on Legion, the stands were falling apart, and it kind of made Grand Prairie look shabby, right? And so now having this new facility, it really brings a new life to Grand Prairie and to any team that comes and visits us. And now that field is being used on a regular basis, so much so that we have to book months and months and months in advance. And so it's getting its use, and it was definitely worth the investment for sure.
Well, and you know what? So I live in Sylvan Lake, and we have a thriving sports community, but a very thriving football community. Like our Adam football team we have to have 2 teams because we got like 100 kids there. Our Pee Wee, we got the same. Our Bantam team has like 70 kids. Like it's just, we have a huge football program, and we have no turf field. And when I actually ran for council here in Sylvan Lake 2 years ago, put my name in on the last possible day, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to try this. No one knew who I was at the time. I ended up doing a speech about basically trying to get rid of the vaccine mandates at the time, and that got me a lot of votes. But one of my main ideas was getting a turf field for Sylvan Lake, because when you, just like you said, when you get that field, you can now host everything. Field hockey, lacrosse, soccer, football, baseball, track, whatever you want, you can host when you have it. And I said to people, I was like, everyone was like, well, it's cost this much money. I said, that stuff will eventually pay for itself. And then it just is making money hand over fist, because people are going to want to come to it. Literally the field of dreams thing, right? Build it and they will come. If you build, especially in like Grand Prairie is one thing, and you're already booking it like crazy and making money out, you will end up making money. If you're not already, it will be a profitable business easily. It will be forever of time, and it's not a lot of maintenance. But in Sylvan Lake, like, we are literally in the smack dab middle between Edmonton and Calgary, in a destination tourist town. We could host anything we ever wanted. There'd be organizations and tournaments that would just beg to come here if we had the facility. So I'm with you on that one. I'm happy that Grand Prairie got that. I think every little town should get that, because it just makes sense in every aspect, especially after COVID, with sports being so popular and kids wanting to play. So, Omari, you got anything to open up for these guys?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to open up here just with, I open up the floor to either Ed or Chad. What's going into now year 2 and building off year 1? What are some expectations now or standards that you feel have been set and guys can carry forward?
Yeah, it's just a growth level, right? So the very beginning and that very first meeting and the end of any club is not having accountability. And the only way to enforce accountability, our belief, was numbers. So we wanted to have enough numbers that you could have the accountability of, hey, if you don't come to practice and it's not a good reason, we understand people work, but we all know, someone goes and chooses to go golfing, for example, and then come game day, if they know that we need them, well, then they're going to play, and that just creates this bad culture. So the whole premise, everything's built on, let's get enough trustworthy, good guys that are wanting to build something, so that we can build that foundation and start weeding out, or even those people that would have been weeded out are starting to raise their standards. So it takes time to do that, but I think we're doing a good job of changing the culture, and it's a good young group of guys.
Nice. And how do you feel the community's wrapped around, the men's team? Because I'm quite familiar with the Grand Prairie football community up there, and I know they got, I think when I was raw, and I think it was January went up, ran a camp, and like it was just like we had a wait list of kids looking to come out still. We're at max capacity, and of course there's always a handful of kids that get to go to junior and university, but there's always that good handful that don't. But what are your guys' efforts to really trying to attract those players who don't want to go to junior or university and say, hey, there's still football you can play local and do everything that you want to do for your life? Well,
part of it is a lot of the guys are coaching on various programs. I helped with the Celtics. I know guys are helping the Sabres and Sexsmith. We have a guy, there's 5 teams here, and I think we're all touching it a little bit. As well as there was a year-end banquet that I attended and just let all the guys know. I don't want to say it's unfortunate, because it's definitely not. Grand Prairie has a lot of talented kids, but we are sending so many kids, which is great. It's great for Grand Prairie. It's great for the name, and these kids will come back. But I would say we're sending 20 plus kids a year across the BCFC and the CJFL easily. So there's a lot of talent, which is great. So I think it's going to be a cycle thing. It's being there, helping them in the off season. It's just, I think part of it's Travis Miller with the Okanagan Sun was the composite high school head coach. Mm-hmm. So there's an easy in for them to go to the Sun, and a lot of guys going to the I. And honestly, it's great. And it's going to help us in the long run because they're going to get that next level coaching. But I don't want to be, it's trying to find those guys that want to start their careers for now, right? Finding those guys that, hey, I don't want to stop someone from, or convince someone not to go to the CJFL that could get better from doing so. But it's a fine line. And I think we're doing it the right way. Like I said, that's what the Drillers did for me. So that's where I have a soft spot for that kind of activity. So just we are going out to the high school. We're trying to find those right kids. And I would honestly say, like, our roster is probably twice the size or at least a third larger than last year. And the average age isn't old. Like, majority of our teams probably under the age 23, 24. Probably 24 is probably high. Like, it's a learning curve. There's an age gap for me and Edge there, but it's good. And and if you treat them well and you have a good culture, and I guess on the recruiting standpoint, what I love about the AFL, and I don't know if it's the same for all teams or if this is just how I felt, but high school football, that's a brotherhood. It's a very easy brotherhood that's just created. You're together all day, so on and so forth. Other levels of football, there's small cliques that I would call brotherhoods. There's friends that I still have, but it's not the same as what I've felt with either the Drillers or now the Cowboys. This is how I felt in high school, right? It's a tight-knitted group of guys that you're choosing to be together. You're still working, so on and so forth. Where I felt with CJFL and some higher level programs, great football, great people, but you don't get that same community. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's definitely how I found with the AFL.
I'd agree with that fully. I think that's literally one of my favorite parts as well about the AFL is just the community. It's just different, and and I've said this probably a few times, but there's not a lot of opportunities in sports where you get to play with the same team and a core group of the same people for a decade, or in my case and Edge's case, over a decade. And because think about it, right? High school is 3 years. Juniors 4 years maximum, university 4 years maximum, 5 years maybe. So in pro, guys are getting traded all the time, and the average CFL NFL career is 3 to 4 years. So the AFL is one of the few sports leagues in the world where you can stay on a team consistently with the same guys for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years. And I know for myself, I look back on, I've played with probably close to 1,000 players in my 13. This will be my 13th season my 13th season in the AFL, and I've played with probably 1,000 guys, and I remember so many different memories from so many of them, and they're still friends of mine today. When I see them, we'll always have that connection. So I think it's different. I think it's better. I think it's closer than those types of leagues. I think it's more about community. I think it's more about connection than a lot of those things. And even in high school, it's connection, but we're not fully grown human beings in high school. We're not our full true selves in high school. We don't appreciate in high school what we're actually going through at that time. Whereas when we get into being adults and we have our fully developed brains, now we're like, wow, we are able to kind of sit back and reflect and be in the present moment, be like, this is cool. For myself, I'm now playing with kids that I coached for 5-6 years. So it's a really cool experience. And it's cool, Chad, and Edge, you guys have a young team. That's great for Grand Prairie. It's great for your culture. We're kind of the same on the Bucks. And I think that's really special. And I think that's a really good starting point for you guys.
And to add to that too, just Chad, with what you're saying, where you got Grand Prairie kept sending players to U Sport Junior, and it's nice. Is like one thing too for those kids leaving is they have a high opportunity to hear about, hey, no matter what happens with university or junior, I can come back to Grand Prairie and play football, the game I love, and it will just cycle through to where, say you're an athlete where you're like, man, I'd love to have him on the team, but hey, go take the opportunity at junior, spend your 5 years in either spot, junior or university. They then may or may not have a chance at pro. They got their education, and I'm sure through the networks they can say, hey, reach out to the team. I remember you guys when I for my next program, I want to come back, start my career. I know the saying in Alberta is in Prairie you make 6 figures or you make money because you're close to where the oil is, but that's such a unique situation to be in where you could go to a place, get better, expose yourself away from Grand Prairie, and come back as your upgraded self and contribute to the community on the team, your work, your career, and everything. That's a unique space to be in. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys grow and blow up from there.
Yeah.
And what are you guys moving into this season a number two and be as real with this as you want, and don't feel like you need to be humble, but be realistic as well. Like, what are you guys telling your team? What are your team expectations? What are you expecting from your group this year? On and off the field, wins and losses and progression. What are you guys expecting moving into 2023 in your second year in the league?
It's to compete. I don't care if it's any of the teams in the league. We wanna be competitive. We wanna show I feel this genuinely, and I hang my hat on it. Like we on defense, we hit hard, and we fully believe that, and it's a mentality. Some of the Sexsmith kids is a joke around here. Maybe it won't be a reference, but we've just got a lot of call it country boys, and they just want to bang. And so it's as long as we're in the games and we're playing to, and I don't want to be cliche here, play to the best of your ability, but like we want to improve from last year. We do think we have a very, very strong defense. Even last year we felt it was a big defense. We've added some pieces and players have, like I said, they're younger, so every year there's a lot of growth for these young guys. So we're really excited to see what happens this year. And it's really hard. Even like you said, you're always going to pick yourself to win, right? You can't go into a game expecting to lose. So it's really hard to say what the expectations are or rank the league honestly. But I really do believe it's football, and any game anyone can win. Is just got to show up. It's 12 guys in the field, right? Like you said, the old Grand Prairie days. You can go to Fort Mac even in their heyday with 18 guys, and it's a game. So it's as long as you have the right mentality and the right athletes, and everyone buys in, anything can happen.
Well, and Omari and I played you guys last year. My first game with the Wolfpack last year was against you guys, and while we did win, I think it was 30-0. And we've talked about this on the podcast. It was, you guys were incredibly physical. It was the most physical game I played in all year, and that included Cold Lake, and Cold Lake was very physical. But you guys were rallying to the ball. There was never a time when if I caught something that I wasn't having two guys hitting me from either side. And I, as a football coach and as a football player, I just had a lot of respect for you guys in general, because you rallied to the ball. You did all the stuff that, like, as a coach, I'm a defensive coordinator. I'm in high school, and as a defense coordinator, I was like, you guys did everything that I would love for my players to do. And regardless of what the score was, you were playing hard, and it was uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it was uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I obviously respected it, but I was like, man, like, I don't really feel like taking another one of these Daryl Leeson 55-55 hooks, because I'm getting two guys coming from either side. All right, boys, 55-55. All right. So yeah, you guys did, and I believe it. Sexsmith and those country boys, like, they're ready. There's no fear. There's just they don't care. They just throw their bodies on the line, and it just is who they are. So, Ed, you got any thoughts on your expectations your season this year?
Man, I want to win. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was with the Drillers for a long time, and we had a lot of years of just getting our asses handed to us. And I do truly think that we have the team this year that can contend. Like Chad said, we just want to compete. Well, obviously, I want to do more than that. I want to kick everybody's ass. Now, I know that everybody's thinking the same damn thing, but I have that killer instinct. I always have. I'm the loud guy on the field, and I'm hyping guys up, and that's really how we play. Like you said, we hit hard, just reckless abandon out there, right? We're trying to get to the ball. We're trying to, put people on their ass, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And that's what I expect from any of our guys out there, and that's what they're prepared to do. So I think that nobody should underestimate us. That's what I'll say. I'm not going to say that we're going to wipe the floor with everybody and be an asshole. Like, I think, nobody should underestimate the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that is true, and I think anyone that does is going to be in for a rude awakening, because I think with that mentality that you have, and I've known you for a long time, Edge. I've played against you for a long time, and I know that's your personality. I remember hearing about you, Edge. I think it was probably year 2 before I even knew who you were, and everyone was talking about how much shit you talk and all this stuff. And I was like, who is this guy? And I saw him. I was like, all right, well, he's kind of looks scary. So I'm not going to get into that with him. So, so that was my first thought of you, and then you've been backing it up for a long time in the league, man. So I'm pumped for Grand Prairie. I was so sad when they folded the first time because it's just we always need a team in Grand Prairie. It's such a great place, and it's a great place to travel to. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to July 8th to go up there with you guys. Omari, go ahead. Got anything?
Let's take. I don't have anything that's on my mind practicing with Grand Prairie. It's definitely somewhere I think when I look at Wolfpack and Grand Prairie, we're everyone's just looking forward to seeing how the season goes and your brain. I think that Grand Prairie does really well, and this is just shit.
Okay, Omari, you're cutting out here, so hold on 1 second. Yeah, you're getting pretty choppy here. So I'll just no. Fix that, and we'll come back to that here. Okay, so Edge and Chad. Last thing before we kind of open the mic up to you, people listening to this podcast, possible recruits, take your shot to sell your team, why they should come play for you, what you guys expect from your players, and just kind of talk about and sell your team.
Yeah, I
want to
guess
go for that, Chad?
What we expect. Yeah, I can take it. The it's camaraderie level. Like it's I don't care what your football goals are. I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm talking career-wise. It's going to be a place where you're going to get better. We have some unreal athletes from all levels of talents. If you're just looking to play ball and be an asshole and whatever, we don't need you. But this team has a tight-knitted group where there's a lot of guys that have played on this team actually that are all across the league now, and they'll all say it and they all miss it and they all know it's here. There's just something special about playing for Grand Prairie. It's really hard to explain until you're here, but there is a mentality to it. There's to it, and yeah, it's really hard to explain if you're not here, but it's really good football. It's really good people, and like I said, it doesn't hurt that. There's a lot of good, well-paying jobs in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, no, that definitely doesn't hurt at all. And so if you're looking for a place to play football, this is a new team. I'm sure that the nice thing about the new teams is spots are open for competition, and it sounds like Chad and Edge are the type of people where they want the best players and the most committed players are going to get their opportunity to play, and the work up there is good, and the community up there is good, and the facility up there is good. So if you're looking for a place and you're thinking about getting an opportunity with a newer team, and which means newer equipment and newer jerseys and all that great stuff, give Grand Prairie a look, and we can hook up with these guys. Edge or Chad, anything you guys want? Mic is open, so feel free if there's anything else you wanted to mention. Or...
Can I add something? Add something here before we open up the mic.
Oh, of course, yeah, Omari, you're good. I can hear you good.
Awesome. One thing that I see that Grand Prairie does really well, and this is definitely an off the field thing, is the sponsorships. Looking at the the signing post you guys do, you guys post your sponsors on it, which is awesome for them. But I think it's the one thing that sticks out to me is the amount of sponsorships that you guys have, which I'm sure help with operation of the team. You guys have any tips for things that you guys do that do well, all that? Like, I know it's one thing where you as a team want to do well sponsor wise, but I know there's other teams that I would love to see either 2, 3 more sponsors to a team to help operations. And you guys have anything to share just from a team that's doing such a good job with that?
Yeah. I would say, and I'm sure a lot of, yeah, for sure. I would say that a lot of teams are probably already doing this, but talk to everyone, right? Everybody from every business, anybody who owns a business. Now, fortunately for us, we do have a lot of businesses up here. And there's a lot of guys on the team who own businesses and different things as well, but just talk to everyone. Try to get your foot in the door, talk to your board, and have specific expectations among the board. Something we did was, we had a meeting, we sat down, we say, okay, we want to hit up XYZ amount of places, who's going to take this on, and then everybody goes and actually just does it, right? That's the key. But you just walk in every door, right? And I'm a salesman, so it's easy for me. Chad's in sales as well, and it's just an easy conversation for some of us, but really that's what it is, just conversation, letting people know who you are, what you're trying to build. Again, speaking on your team culture, that's the big thing. And I know it probably all sounds cliche, but just talk to everyone, man. Just get in every door. And honestly, businesses are expecting you to walk in the door. That's why there's an open sign on the door. So walk in, shake hands, let them know who you are, and that's really what did it for us. And honestly, every year is different, right? One year versus the next. Last year we didn't have as many sponsors. This year we have more, right? And so now we're trying to build something that's bigger, and people are starting to take notice. But I think that's really what it is every year it's different, and some people don't have the money, or the companies don't have the money. And to be honest with you, Grand Prairie was hurting there for a little while, and everybody was trying to squirrel away all of their coins as much as they could. But now things are opening up, and people are getting back into donating and being generous as they are. So that's really what it is. Just talk to everybody.
That's awesome to hear. And I guess note for all of us other teams, good sponsorships or no sponsorship situations, to just talk to people. Now, one last thing before we open up the floor, just on the operating side, you guys mentioned how, I know we all probably felt it, where things were slow and just things people were holding back to the reserve more and not as a giving. Does that kind of change how, as an operations side on the team, you're like, okay, yes, we want to use all this money to help us operate, but as well prepare for that slow time, rainy day where things aren't as flowing, let's put it as.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It really, you just have to run the team like a business in that sense. And, year to year sales, quote unquote, or money coming in is going to be different. And so, this year versus the next year might be different. And so you have to plan for that rainy day. You have to be less frivolous. You know what I mean? Be more thrifty. Try to get better deals, try to get discounts on things, try to, save money where you can. And obviously everybody should be doing that anyway, right? But that's really, something that's happened to us in the past, where, things tighten up, and then we just have to tighten up what's in front of us. And so from an operating side, we really, really have a lot of meetings about, how to spend our money, and everybody gets on board, and there's no frivolous spending. And so that's really what it comes down to. And I mean, it probably sounds super simple, but we do have to work at it because we want the shiny new thing, or we want the best next thing or whatever. But, you have to be tight where you need to be.
That's huge. And one thing that just this last weekend, I was at a junior spring camp, and just talking with the operations and board and everything, so I'm quite close with them there. One thing that I guess this can help probably apply to everyone. Typically, I know in our league we have to have our games filmed, and as to pay someone to film it. I can't recall, they actually have an intern from MRU who's going to be doing all their filming, practices, and from their practices. And they have to have professional film crew for their games. But it was an idea that sparked in my head. I'm like, wow, like MRU and State here in Calgary have film programs that their students basically are required to get hours in. I actually ended up talking to them, being like, hey, do you know anyone else or any other programs that are looking to get hours? Because we have a whole league of guys that need to get games in and everything. And yes, we have to pay the players, but we're able to transfer that to where it's just internship hours for students. They just get their time in, helps as a savings cost for everybody. That was kind of like a thrifty thing I was thinking of. And again, it was just an idea I had, but I agree with you. Where there's definitely times where you have to be thrifty. You can be more open. It adjusts as the season goes.
And on the thing, that's a topic that I find very interesting. Obviously, you and I have talked about it, Amari. I'm hoping you guys can check the Cowboys film this year and see how it pans out. We're trying something different. I think Airdrie might have bought the same camera, but it's going to it's basically AI manned, and I'm really not passionate with film, but I think our film last year needed a lot of work, and that's been referenced before, the whole league almost. The film was just a little bit rough last year, so that was something I've been very on the forefront. So we bought something in. I'm hoping it works really well. It's already here. We're going to test it at next week's practice. But basically, you just set it up before the game. You sync it up with your phone. You hit play, and it just tracks the ball completely via AI. So ideally, you don't have to pay someone to do that. If it has 2 cameras pointing, you set it up on the 50. If that's something that works, I think it's something that a lot of teams should look at. I'm hoping it works as well as it sounds, though. All right, everything sounds great, but if that works, last year I think our league could take such a massive step forward. I know you guys both believe this because Amari with your YouTube channel and different things you guys have mentioned, but I think that's something the league needs to do, not only to give us more validity, but to give players that want a chance at junior a better shot, players that want to go overseas and play, right? If we're not getting the amazing play they did recorded, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping anything. So I think that's a big thing the AFL needs to look at fixing. And I think we are. A lot of teams are trying to fix it. But yeah, I think that's why the YouTube channel is such a great idea. And yeah, if we can all as teams prioritize this, I think it helps us all in so many ways.
Well, and on the film topic, I think you're very right there. So, are you? What's the program? Are you using Huddle Focus, or what's your program?
No,
Chad?
I actually tried
using?
to reach out to Huddle. Let me see here. I know it's. I'm just looking at my email here because there's 2. So Home Team Live, it actually reached out. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. I would definitely be something to look into. I don't want to go on a big rant about it. I mentioned it to Amari here the other night, but a few, our Eastern brothers, a few teams over there are already using it. It's basically there's a lot of different brands. Ours is, what is it called here? Yeah, Pixelot. That's the brand that makes the cameras.
Yeah,
Pixelot.
Yeah. So is that one a like one-time fee, or are you paying a subscription for that? Like, what exactly?
So it's one time for the camera. Unfortunately, I did bring it up to the league because I'm in the league chat there as well, of switching from Huddle to their film sharing. Only reason is same reason Amari just said. It honestly is the exact same thing. It would save every team $300 US because they do it month to month, and it does everything Huddle would do. But for now, we're going to pay $75 a month on top of our Huddle because I didn't get the league to switch. But at that time, it does all the exact same things. You pay the camera once. I think it was like 1,300 Canadian, something like that, 1,400 Canadian. And that is a lot. Don't get me wrong, but you buy it one time, you're probably good for quite a few, and then you have to pay month.
It's not a lot. Yeah, and it's actually not a lot because I think we pay with the Bucks. I think we pay our film guy like $50 a game or something like that to do the filming. Plus, you got to buy the camera. Here's the thing: like, people don't know this because like whatever. I keep this to myself, but I guess now they're going to notice. I did the film for the Bucks until last year when I wasn't on the team, but I bought the camera myself with my own money. I bought the SIM cards. I made sure that it was charged. I brought everything to the camera. There was a camera guy that did it. Then I took it home and uploaded it all to Huddle, and it was annoying. And so like I'm very familiar with Huddle Focus because basketball team my coach uses it, and it's amazing. Like with Huddle Focus, and I'm sure this is the same with the one you got. It not only does it automatically track everything, but it's like 4K quality, and it automatically uploads it right to Huddle, it right there. So it'll be available right after the game. And then with Huddle, it'll actually stat the game for you. So 24 hours after it's uploaded, it will have all the stats you could ever dream of. They do it for you. It's automatic. So the technology is there, and the league absolutely needs to be looking at partnering with something like Huddle Focus or like whatever, like what you said is as a whole, get the cameras out there. And this is simple, right? Like, each team, this is just off the cuff of my head, but each team adds $25 to their player fees, and then that money goes into a league pool, which buys cameras for all the teams, whatever it might be, or you get a sponsor for it, whatever the situation, because you can get sponsors for it and then run advertisements on it. You can run the live stream right from these cameras. So I know Huddle Focus, you can not only film it while it's happening, but you can run a live stream and it uploads to Huddle. So there's so many things you can do with one aspect, and you don't even need a person there. So it's genius, and I think it should be done. For this year, if you're listening to this, teams involved, this is how you need to film a game. If you're using your normal camera guy and a camera, you have to film the entire play zoomed out. Okay. Everybody needs to be on film. You need to see the DB drops. You need to see the receiver routes. There's a number of reasons why, because that's what you need for scouting and it's what you need for film. Then when somebody makes a tackle, you zoom into the tackle and you make sure you get the number of the players coming off the pile that did the tackle. And then you wait like 5 seconds so that you make sure you get those numbers. And then you zoom back out. And it's that simple, because people like myself who do the stats, we need to be zoomed in at the end so we can see the numbers, but we don't need to be zoomed in for the entire play so we can't see anything that's actually happening. So when and it's annoying to me that the league doesn't have an actual bylaw set standard of how to film games. You film the play zoomed out, you end the play zoomed in. Instead, what we get is the play is either zoomed all the way in or zoomed all the way out. And then when it's zoomed all the way out, they never zoom in. So you can't actually see who's making the tackle. And then you have to like basically guess who made the tackle. Or it's zoomed way too far in and you can't see anything. Or they cut the clip off the second the whistle blows and the play's over. So you can't actually see who gets up. So just like calm down, zoom out for the play, zoom in for the tackle, allow the people doing the stats to see who made the tackle, spread this to your film guys, tell this to your team. Next year, let's work as a league of getting a system in place like Chad is talking about. Chad, I hope that works for you, because obviously that's great. We're coming to Grand Prairie. That'd be great for our film game as well.
Yeah,
so,
no, we're
yeah, that'd be really cool. Omari, I guess Edge or Chad, you got anything on the open mic part? Anything you want to plug? Any sponsors you want to plug for your team? Any camps? Any dates? Anything like that?
I guess, quick overview. We do appreciate all our sponsors, but I will give a real solo shout out to Iron Nation. They stepped up in a big way. I'm not taking anything away from everybody, but yeah, if we had to highlight anyone, Iron Nation stepped up and they're going to partner with us for a long time. So we appreciate them.
Is that a gym?
Yeah, it's a gym, and they've agreed to helping us every 3 months for the foreseeable future. So there'll be a long time partner for us.
Awesome. Ed, you got anything to finish?
Yeehaw, boys. Get ready to watch some Cowboys football.
Oh, man, I love it. Yeah. All right. Omari, anything to finish?
One last thing. Just as we get closer here, and I know, Chad, we've been going back and forth here, and just recently you got access to the AFL YouTube channel as pretty much the first team to, I guess, outside the Wolfpack, because that's us, but one of the first adopters of seeing how the channel works and everything, and seeing how the live stream is. I just want to get some first impressions from you, seeing how the kind of behind the scenes and how it looks, and what you feel like this can add to Grand Prairie for the team, into the league. As well, I know the live stream being the big part, but just some first thoughts to help other teams who either might have cold feet or just stalling it out just to see and wait and see.
I honestly think it's going to be so user friendly. I don't know why teams would have cold feet unless you have a different streaming service you're going to do. I understand you have to, and I still got to find the person that's going to do it for our first game here, but it's a no brainer. It doesn't hurt anything. You get someone with their iPhone on the sideline or up in the stands, and then like Amari said, we got people playing from all over Canada, and for some teams coming from different parts of the world that have family members that want to watch too. And, downloading it from Huddle or whatever else, it's just not the same. So it's a very simple thing. You get your login, you get someone to live. It's really, it's so simple. It's very user friendly. Obviously, I haven't tested it, but in theory, you're just going to hit go live. You're going to stand there and you're going to let so many more people see both our league. And if you just want to think selfishly, there's people on any team in this league guaranteed that have relatives that don't live in the city that can't come to the game and watch. So it just, at the very least, brings more eyes in that way. But I think it's going to bring more eyes in a lot of other ways as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why it's always nice to hear different thoughts. I know, like, I can preach on it for ever so long, and I feel like I've done the hit from the good air. And I just recently I did the test stream where I did 10 minutes just at shoulder ice. I was on one of the side fields, just showing like the quality and everything, just to give everyone that of it. And literally now it's just a matter of get the teams log in, who's going to be holding it. They have an iPhone, they can whatever phone they have. Hopefully they have Wi-Fi. Sits up top and then go up and down, and then opens up that floor. So, that's definitely awesome to hear. And we'll see who implements and goes from there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, get on the YouTube channel, people. Let's get the AFL out there. We are Sunday of week 1. That means tomorrow is officially game week for the Bucks, for the Jets, for the Cowboys. I'm excited to see that Jets Cowboys game. I know, Edge is yeehawing and ready to see the Jets come into town and to make some noise and get an upset there. I'm cheering for the Cowboys in that game. Just, I like the guys in Cold Lake, but my goodness, like I'm so excited for the parity this year. I'm so excited to see like six. I think there could be 6 teams that are all legitimately competing for a championship in this league. And if we could have a huge upset week 1, Bucks upset the Irish. Let's go. Cowboys upset the Jets. Let's go. Then we're into it. We're ready to go. The season gets even more interesting. And then next week we come on the podcast, Omari. We get to dissect everything. We get to see the film. We get to talk about the big upsets. I've got Bucks 28, Irish 17, and I'm picking Cowboys 25, Jets 21. You heard it here first. Omari, send us out. Thank you, Danny Warwick. Thank you, Travis Levitsky, for your help earlier as well. Omari, send us out.
I appreciate everyone tuning in. Looking forward to week 1. The time has come. Tomorrow is going to be week 1 of the season 1 of the AFL season. I appreciate everyone tuning in. You can catch us here on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, anywhere where you get your podcasts, as well on YouTube. Check us out there. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. All the interaction we appreciate. And we look forward to seeing you guys here after week 1. We're all going to dive into the film. It's going to be a juicy time to see everyone and, just get into the season here.
Awesome. Thanks, Omari. Thank you, Edge. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Good luck this week. Stay safe out there. Hey, let's get this party started. We're ready to roll.
Yeah, good luck to you too, man.
Thanks, brother. Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.